Here are my recasting of the Doctors in Doctor Who as of 2020, discounting Ruth. For these recastings, I'm going along the Big Finish sort of line of performance over likeness. The First Doctor. Now, Richard Hartnell and David Bradley have already set a precedent for this, that the First Doctor is perhaps the most easy to recast, because all you really need to have is a grumpy old man with a bit of heart. There isn't so much need to have it a perfect likeness. My casting decision for this one is Jason Watkins. This is an actor, I think, who is more versatile than we give him credit for. He can play comedy, he can play realism, and I think he could play that grumpy old man with a heart quite well. And we've seen through his various appearances on TV that he's able to impersonate different people. And I also think, with a grey wig and a suit on, he could have quite a strong likeness. So for William Hartnell, I would cast Jason Watkins. The Second Doctor. This one is quite tricky because there's a lot of layers to this performance. You need to have the old man who's playing the idiot. You need to have somebody with a childish comedic background, somebody who's quite good at physical comedy, but also somebody who can play scared, somebody who can play angry, and someone who can play intelligence. I think the perfect man for this role would be Lee Evans. He has had a background in acting, he has done many films and many TV shows. He is first and foremost a comedian with a background in slapstick comedy, but I think that would translate quite well into Patrick Troughton's Doctor, much as comedians such as Matt Lucas mix quite well with Nardole. So my choice for Patrick Troughton is Lee Evans. For the Third Doctor, I am taking physical appearance into account a little bit more. No matter how well you perform as Jon Pertwee, I think it is important that you must have a physical likeness to him. For this character, you need somebody who can be serious, someone who can be scientific and very intelligent, but also somebody who can have a dark, nasty side without it being unpleasant and unlikable. My choice for this one is Kenneth Branagh. While I feel he has a mild physical likeness to Jon Pertwee, I also think he has something of an ego, something of an intelligent side to him that is also moderately likeable, that I think would fit into Jon Pertwee's character very well. So Jon Pertwee is Kenneth Branagh. The Fourth Doctor. This one is a lot more challenging. You're never going to get somebody who can perform and who looks like Tom Baker, because Tom Baker is a unique person, and he based the Fourth Doctor off his own personality rather than acting as such. So I don't think you would get anyone who could impersonate his portrayal. What you would need instead is somebody who has their own unique streak. Somebody who doesn't particularly carry the characteristics of Tom Baker, but has their own unique style similar to that of Tom Baker. My choice is Brian Blessed. I believe he could carry off that unpredictable, psychotic streak that Tom Baker has in his eyes, while also being likeable and random and unpredictable, and also very intelligent and alien all at the same time. My choice for Tom Baker is Brian Blessed. The Fifth Doctor. This one was actually quite easy to cast for me. You need somebody who can be quite innocent and unknowing at the start, like how he was in Castor Revolver, but then somebody who can also have a rather nasty streak and turn and be very, very short-tempered, like he is in certain episodes. My choice is Tim Goodman-Hill. We saw his performance in The Unicorn and the Wasp go from the sweet, innocent vicar into the nasty, aggressive, Vespiform wasp, and I think he could carry off all the different aspects of Peter Davison very well. And I also think it's not unfair to say he has a certain physical likeness of Peter Davison. You could see him and quite easily believe that he would be the same person. So Peter Davison, Tim Goodman-Hill. The Sixth Doctor. Now, I don't think many people could pull off this role. He needs to be an eccentric, a genius, somebody who's the smartest person in the room but also wears that ridiculous suit and can kind of pull it off. Somebody who can be incredibly aggressive and unpredictable and even strangling Perry, while also having that side that he's not entirely in control of his own mind, and you kind of want to support him throughout his arc where he eventually becomes a softer man. I think the perfect casting for this role would be Toby Jones. He has that lovable goof nature to him, that he's always the underdog, but we saw in Amy's Choice when he played the Dream Lord that he can also have that evil, egotistical side, that I'm always right and you're always wrong side. I could see him snapping at the companions, while also partially having us on his side, and I can also see him having that wonderful monologue against the Time Lords. So my choice for Colin Baker is Toby Jones. Seventh Doctor. This one I feel the comedic side is very important. Somebody who can be very manipulative, somebody who can control people's minds, but also somebody who can play around with a spoon, somebody who can play around with a hat, while not undermining the performance. And I also feel that the Scottish side of Sylvester McCoy is important to retain. My choice for this one is Alan Cumming. I feel he could carry off the comedic side, as we saw very well in King James in The Witchfinders, but also he has that diminutive stature and that intelligent side that you would feel would command the scene, and somebody who I could believe could manipulate the bad guy's intelligence. So, Sylvester McCoy is Alan Cumming. The Eighth Doctor. Now this one would be quite obvious to cast as somebody like Hugh Grant, somebody with almost a Victorian English charm and wit to them. However, I think that Hugh Grant would be a poor choice for this role. I think you need somebody who has a life to them, somebody who you can feel the life pouring out of them. Also somebody who is loving, somebody who can be somewhere behind you and also in front of you at the same time. My choice is Colin Firth. I believe he has the intelligent side, the alien side, but I can also see him running around that New York field trying on those boots. I can see him doing every aspect of the Eighth Doctor character. And also he's not a million miles away from Hugh Grant. He has co-starred in many similar films. So my choice for the Eighth Doctor Paul McGann is Colin Firth. The War Doctor. Now this one carries a certain gravitas to it, a certain presence to it. It needs to be somebody who is an old English actor, somebody with a huge amount of history to their name. It doesn't have to be somebody with the same presence as a household name as John Hurt was, but that would be quite useful for the role because that is at least what he brings to the character, that is intrinsic to the personality of the War Doctor. My choice, I think he would be very, very hard pushed to beat Gary Oldman. I think he could carry off the alien aspects, that condescension towards David Tennant and Matt Smith, and also I feel he has that burden of the Time War running through his eyes. I think he would perhaps even match John Hurt's performance. So my choice to replace John Hurt would be Gary Oldman. The Ninth Doctor. This one, again, is certainly a challenge, because you have to have somebody who is northern, somebody who can carry off that grit and aggression and sadness of the Time War that Christopher Eccleston has pouring out of him, but also somebody who can be comedic, somebody who can make jokes at the Slitheen or at the editor, while also screaming in the face of a Dalek. Also, sad as it is to say, Christopher Eccleston was suffering from anorexia at the time, and I feel that created a certain bold image for the Ninth Doctor that you couldn't replace with just anyone. I feel to carry off the same performance and the same likeness as Christopher Eccleston, the best choice would be Joe Gilgun. He has a lot of history in drama and comedy, and I feel he would carry off that scorned Time War renegade very, very well, while also lifting it with comedic performance, and I think they're not a million miles away from each other's likenesses. So for Christopher Eccleston, I say Joe Gilgun. The 10th Doctor. This one is tricky, because you need somebody who can carry off the performance of the 10th Doctor, which is incredibly nuanced, somebody who can command the stage, somebody who can be an idiot, somebody who can be an underdog, but also somebody who has incredible charisma. I feel you would have to cast somebody who is in a similar place in British society as David Tennant is. Somebody whose name everybody knows, and somebody whose performance you take to your heart. My choice, perhaps unexpectedly, is Taron Egerton. He's shown in the Kingsman series that he has the ability to play somebody of low stature in society, but also somebody who can elevate the situation. Somebody who has that charisma and that style and that charm to him. Somebody who could tell off all these races of aliens, but also somebody who has a lot of heart and a lot of truth to their performance. So my choice for David Tennant is Taron Egerton. The 11th Doctor. This one is not that hard to come past. Everybody would think that I would cast Eddie Redmayne, because he seems to be Hollywood's answer to Matt Smith. But I'm not going to go down that road, because I think more than the physical likeness and the alien aspect, what is important is the heart of the 11th Doctor. Somebody who has a childish face but an ancient heart. Somebody who can scream out that Akaten speech but also have that comedic side in the 11th hour. My choice is actually the person who was playing Eddie Redmayne's role in the original stage production of Les Mis, Hugh Skinner. In Mamma Mia, he showed that he can have that lovable soft side, but also in things like The Windsors, he's shown he's incredibly comedic, and I think he could pull off anything that Matt Smith could pull off. And also, again, I think they have a slight physical resemblance of each other. So my choice for Matt Smith is Hugh Skinner. The 12th Doctor. Again, this is one rather similar to Tom Baker. I don't think he could replace Peter Capaldi's performance with just anyone, because I think it comes from his heart and his soul. Those attack eyebrows, that Scottish grit, that side to him that is almost unlikable in Series 8, and yet you always want to see that lighter side which eventually comes out in Series 9 and Series 10. I also think it is intrinsic to the Capaldi Doctor that he is Scottish, much like it was with Sylvester McCoy and Christopher Eccleston's. My choice for this one is Billy Connolly. While his performance and while his physical likeness is very, very different to Peter Capaldi, I think he has the same qualities. He could pull off that dark, abrasive character that we saw in Series 8, while also having the lovable charm behind him that makes us want to love him. And while I think he would entirely perform differently to Peter Capaldi, I could see them perhaps taking on a similar guise to each other. So my choice for Peter Capaldi is Billy Connolly. Which brings us to the current Doctor, Jodie Whittaker, the 13th Doctor. This one, the likeness, is actually quite easy to achieve because Jodie has a very, very familiar face. That blonde hair, that jawline, everything about her is memorable. Now, I think that her performance is intrinsically childish, and I think that's important. She has that heart, that love, that joy of the world. Everything about her performance as the Doctor is both silly and full of life and joyful, and I think that is the most important thing to duplicate. My choice for her is Lily James. As we've seen in countless roles of Lily James, she is able to pull off the silliest scenes. She is also able to pull off, as we saw in Mamma Mia, this love of life, this idea that she's running around with her heart, and I think that would be great for the 13th Doctor. And also, again, I think there is a strong likeness between them. So my choice for the 13th Doctor, Jodie Whittaker, is Lily James. Let me know in the comments what you think of my choices, and also perhaps share some of your own casting choices. I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye bye for now.